I am, once again, Reverend Jeffrey Kealoha Ryan. My distinct honor and pleasure to serve this beloved community, Riverside Center for Spiritual Living, where love lives here. So thank you for joining us this morning. You can tell my hair is getting long. I have product in it. Tried to kind of make it kind of cute this morning for you because it was not looking so cute earlier, let me tell you. So it was kind of like all over the place, kind of doing a flock of seagulls kind of thing. It was very odd this morning. So I do have product in my hair today, so we'll see how this goes. But it's great to be with all of you this morning. So let's start with our focus statement, shall we? We embolden people to live their highest potential through the transformative power of love. Yes. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that and speaking that truth into existence this day, as we do every Sunday and as we do throughout the week, remembering that that truly is our mission and the high idea for Riverside Center for Spiritual Living, emboldening people to live their highest potential. And we do that through that transformative power of love. Here at Centers for Spiritual Living Worldwide, we have been focusing on the theme this year of Spiritual Vision 2020. And this month, the month of April, we have been honing in on and focusing in on bright beginnings. And this month of April, this particular month of April, has been kind of unique in that all three of the Abrahamic traditions have high holy days and high holy holidays during this time. And we looked at Passover, we've looked at Easter, and then today, our friends, brothers, sisters, and siblings of the Muslim faith who practice Islam are celebrating Ramadan. So we are looking at Ramadan this week from our own metaphysical perspective, if you will. And Ramadan started on Friday. So I wish everybody who's celebrating Ramadan Mubarak, peace and blessings this day and this whole month as they celebrate and remember and rededicate themselves and recommit themselves to faith, to their faith. So let's talk about Ramadan just a little bit, shall we? Ramadan is a move, it follows the Arab calendar, and so it moves throughout the year. The calendar is not synchronous with the Western calendar of the 365 days, right? It follows more of a lunar calendar, and so it moves. And so the month of Ramadan moves throughout throughout time. It shifts throughout the year. But what the month of Ramadan is really about for our Muslim brothers, sisters, and siblings is it is a time, the way it's celebrated is it's a time of fasting. Fasting from food, fasting from water, fasting from sex, cigarettes, gambling, fasting from gossip, fasting from lying. Just saying, it might be a good idea for, all of us to practice that one, and especially a few folks that we can think of to be practicing abstaining from lying. But it is fasting from sun up to sundown, from sunrise to sunset, if you will. And no, I'm not going to sing the song, and Jubel might be able to sing that for you later, but we're not singing that song today. So it is a period of fasting. And what this fasting does is what this fasting is an opportunity is it's a fasting from all distractions. It's a fasting from all physical distractions. It's a fasting from all mental distractions that then allows the adherent, allows the person of faith, allows the Muslim to really focus in on and rededicate themselves to spirit and recommit themselves to spiritual practice. It's an opportunity to go within and really practice the presence of the one, practice the presence of being in oneness with spirit and in recognizing oneness with spirit. So it's an opportunity for reflection. It's an opportunity to turn within and reflect on one's life. It is an opportunity for revelation. It's an opportunity for spirit to speak, for new ideas to come forth, for Spirit to make itself known in the hearts and the minds of the adherents, because there is a cleansing, there's a purification that's happening. It is a time for revolution. It is a time for taking action, if you will, high, holy, spiritual action. And it's a time for restoration. It's a time for coming back. It's a time for moving forward into something new, into a bright new beginning. And what the fasting does, the fasting from all of these distractions, and especially the fasting, if you think about it from a physiological perspective, especially the fasting of food and water, is the idea is that it creates a fire in the belly. It creates this fire, it creates this burning in the belly. And this fire, as Constance so beautifully spoke in her invocation, this fire is one of purification. It is a fire of faith. It is laying down any fear. It is laying down any distraction. It is laying down all ideas of otherness, all ideas of separation, and it's laying it down on the altar and allowing it to be consumed by the purifying fire, to allow it to be transmuted and transcended, if you will. So this is an opportunity all month long for Muslims to practice this faith, to practice this, the spiritual practice of fasting. And during this time of fasting, of spiritual practice of fasting, there's an increased awareness, there's an increased amount of prayer, there is an increased amount of meditation, there is an increased amount of simply practicing being one with the one. Isn't that great when you think about that? And when you think about what we collectively as a planet are experiencing right now, we can see parallels, can't we? That we too are in this time of fasting and abstaining from regular daily activities. We too are in this time of taking a step back, if you will, and having an opportunity to reflect, having an opportunity for revelation, having an opportunity for restoration, having an opportunity for revolution. We too have this opportunity. We too have this opportunity to rededicate ourselves to Spirit, rededicate ourselves to what it is that we know to be true, that there is only one life and it's expressing in, through, and as each one of us. We too have the opportunity to reconnect and recommit to our spiritual practices, right? Last week we were talking about how we, in every moment, have the moment to choose. In every moment, we are free to make a choice. In every moment, we are free to do something new. We are free to do something different. And when we recognize that, then we are empowered by that choice. We are empowered to live our best lives. Now, I recognize that there is a lot going on right now. Right? And this is a very lofty idea when we think about, empowering people or emboldening people to live their highest potential through the transformative power of love. The highest potential, right? That is such a lofty and high idea when we think about it. That idea is really at the top of Maslow's pyramid, right? The top of the pyramid, which is self-actualization. Living your highest potential is really at the top of self-actualization, or at the top of the pyramid where self-actualization is, right? And what many of us are experiencing right now is we're experiencing those lower sections of the pyramid, right? Where, it is about our physiology is important, our food, water, shelter, right? Are concerns possibly. Safety and security, whether it's financial or physical, health, right, are concerns that we may be experiencing right now. Or maybe we're experiencing what feels like the loss of connection, the loss of friendships, the loss of relationships. And maybe some of us are actually experiencing true loss. Not that any loss is not true, but loss of a loved one. loss of life on this human plane. Perhaps that is true. Some of us, our work, our jobs, our vocations, our activities help really shape who we are and how we move and interact in the world. And that is not stable right now either, right? So you've got all of these basic needs from Maslow's perspective, these basic and psychological needs from Maslow's perspective. They're all kind of coming in at once and maybe feeling constricted and maybe feeling pressured and creating some anxiety and creating some tension. And you know what? That's okay. We are right where we are supposed to be. We don't negate what we are experiencing. We don't say that it's not happening. We don't pretend that we are sheltering in grace in our homes, that we are safer at home. We don't pretend that people are not losing their jobs. We don't pretend that people are not losing their lives. We don't pretend that society is shifting and changing. We don't pretend that those things are not occurring. But what we have the opportunity to do here is we have the opportunity to be free. We have the opportunity to make choice, as what we were saying before. Sorry, Oliver's deciding he needs to weigh in on that particular point, evidently. He's emphasizing the point. We have the choice, we have the opportunity, as we were talking about last week, to look at things, to accept what is and look at things from a different perspective, and how we experience things is where our choice lies. We can choose how we experience. We can choose the how. And the way we choose the how is we choose what it is we're going to think about, how we think about it, how we interpret it, how we experience it. We choose the how. And the best way to choose the how that I know of is to do exactly what our Muslim brothers and sisters and siblings are doing right now. And that is really turning within and turning to the divine, turning to spirit, reconnecting with spirit, reaffirming with spirit, recommitting to their spiritual practice. Because what I know is that when we are committed to our spiritual practice, when we keep our eyes focused and we keep ourselves aligned with the one, and we keep our eyes and our ears and our consciousness present with the one consciousness, the one presence, the one life, when we focus there, then all things are added unto us, right? All things begin to shift. When we keep our mind stayed on thee, when we keep our mind stayed on the divine, then life conspires for our highest good. We are maintained and sustained by the divine itself. We are one with the one. Nothing is ever withheld from us. So if we come at it from this perspective, if we shift how we are experiencing life by shifting and moving into spiritual practice and deepening our spiritual practice, then what I know has to happen is because what you focus on, what you put your intention and attention on, has to expand. So therefore, if we are focusing and placing our attention there, on the one, on the divine, then everything has to manifest from there. Everything is an expression, an outward expression of the internal atmosphere. Whew. Right? So we have the opportunity, my beloveds, we have the opportunity right now to choose to lean into our faith. The reason we call it spiritual practice is because when we practice in the good times, when we experience the challenging times, faith is right there, trust is right there, hope is right there, peace is right there, because we have been practicing and practicing and practicing in the good times. And so when the challenges come, it's yet another opportunity to lean into that practice, to lean into spirit, to lean into what it is that we know. To lean into the experience of the divine. So this day, I invite you to really begin, and this time that we are together, we are physically distanced, but we are spiritually and socially connected, that we are together in this, together having a shared experience, together having a shared opportunity, I invite you to do your spiritual practice, do your spiritual work. I invite you to up it. I invite you to turn up the volume on it. I invite you to amplify your spiritual practice. Our Muslim brothers, sisters, and siblings, they pray 5 times a day. What would it be like if we prayed 5 times a day? What would it be like if we, here at Centers for Spiritual Living, here at Riverside Center for Spiritual Living, what would it look like? What would our life look like? What would our city look like if we were practicing some sort of spiritual practice 5 times a day? If we were practicing prayer, if we were practicing meditation, if we're practicing visioning, if we're practicing affirmations, if we're practicing sacred service, what would that look like for us individually and collectively and for our city? Imagine the possibilities. So let's think about some of our spiritual practices, shall we? And let's relate them to what it is that Ramadan assists with, what Ramadan helps us focus on. Think about reflection. Ramadan helps us reflect. What spiritual practices do we have that help us with reflection on our lives? One I can think of right off the top of my head is journaling, right? Bust out, a journal, keep it on your laptop, or get a spiral notebook if you've got a spiral notebook, pieces of paper, whatever, and begin a committed practice of journaling. Sit down every morning for a few moments and just journal. Take the opportunity to reflect on your day, or do it at the end of the day and keep a gratitude journal. Today, I am grateful for my life. Today, I am grateful for my friends. Today, I am so grateful for the food that I have in my home. Today, I'm so grateful that I am safe and sheltering in grace. And keep a journal, keep a log of that so that you can go back and you could refer to that. So that you can go back and reflect upon these times. These times are very interesting times. There are so many gifts in this moment and in this opportunity that writing it down in a journal can really, really be of value as we continue to move forward. It's an opportunity to look back and see what was, what has been, what no longer worked, what you would like to see shift, what you would like to see change. And it's a way of looking forward and looking at what's possible, what you would like to experience. Journaling is one of our most beautiful spiritual tools that we have. So when we think about reflection, think perhaps about journaling, right? And when we think about revelation is another word, another idea of Ramadan. When we think about revelation, think about your meditation practice. Think about visioning practice, the practice of visioning, the practice of turning within and listening to Spirit's highest idea for our lives. Listening for that high idea. Listening for the way Spirit wants to express and move itself through and as each one of us. Listening for what must be embraced. Listening for what must be released. Listening for what is ours to do, what is ours to give, but listening, sitting in that sacred silence, that holy communion, that holy conscious union, and listening, making ourselves available, being a transparency for the divine. And you can do this every single morning. We have meditation available for you, meditation and prayer available for you every single morning at 9 a.m. Every morning. Many of us are working different hours. If we are working, we're working different hours than what we were working before. Life has shifted. It's a half hour every morning at 9 a.m. A beautiful community has come together and is continuing to come together on a regular basis at 9 a.m. for meditation and prayer, led by me or one of our beautiful, beloved, talented spiritual practitioners. It's an opportunity to come together in community on a regular basis and meditate and listen and be present with one another, to gather with one another, but to be present not only with each other, but with Spirit. And wait and allow the revelation to happen. So I invite you, please consider joining that 9 a.m. meditation. The easiest way to find it is go to our website, riversidecsl.org, and click on the link at 9 o'clock or just before 9 o'clock and join meditation. And if that time doesn't work for you, that's fine. But I encourage you to meditate. I encourage you to vision. I encourage you to lean into those practices and allow Spirit to reveal itself in, through, and as you. I invite you to lean into that contemplation of what is the high idea for your life. And then revolution. Revolution is about taking action, right? So revolution here it's a revolutionary, it's a new way of thinking, it's a new way of being, it's a new way of acting, a new way of expressing. So what is it within you that is being called forth? What changes are being called forth? What changes are you willing to make in this moment? What are you willing to commit to? What are you willing to change? And it doesn't have to be a major thing, right? It doesn't have to be a major, huge change, just a small change. Maybe the change is, I'm going to get up an hour earlier than what I have been. Maybe the change is, I'm going to shower every day. Maybe the change is, I'm going to commit to meditation every morning at 9 a.m. Maybe the change is, I'm going to say thank you and express gratitude before I go to bed. Maybe the change is changing your hair, right? They don't have to be big changes. But the willingness to change, where there is a willingness, there is a way. The willingness to change opens up greater and greater possibilities. And it's taking action upon that which has been revealed, to begin shifting, to begin changing, to greater align at yourself with Spirit, to make a difference in your life. Remember, change is empowering when we choose the change. And change is still empowering, even if we don't choose the change, but we choose how we relate to it, how we experience it. Oh, and then there's restoration, right? The fourth one, restoration. Restoration is that newness. It is that coming into something new. It is that coming into, back around to, because we know that Spirit moves in circles more in a spiral idea, that it is a coming back to a new, higher evolutionary possibility of life. And how do we do that here at Centers for Spiritual Living, at Riverside Center for Spiritual Living? How do we do that? We do that through prayer. We do that through affirmation. We claim what it is that we wish to experience. We claim what it is that we know to be the truth. We claim it, planting that high idea in the soil, in that creative medium that only says yes, to then see a demonstration. That is a restoration. It is a restoring, not of what was, but of what is and what is yet to be. It is a restoring our mind to a centered place, to an aligned place. It is a restoration of our mind. It is a restoration of our consciousness, bringing us back into that consciousness of oneness, bringing us back into that consciousness of unity. So how often are you practicing affirmative prayer? How often are you speaking words of affirmation? This is an opportunity. This is a time that we can up our spiritual practice, up our commitment to our spiritual practice, up our rededication to a spiritual life. This is a center for spiritual living, right? Each one of us is a center of the living Spirit. We practice our philosophy. We practice our teaching. We practice these spiritual principles and these spiritual practices. And it is through this practice that we are emboldened to live our highest potential. So while we may be experiencing things in the realm of effect, and we may be experiencing challenges in the realm of effect, we have the opportunity to approach it from a higher perspective. We have an opportunity to approach it from a self-actualized perspective, from a spiritual perspective, and shift and watch the shift change. But it comes through practice. It comes through us practicing. So in this time of safer at home, in this time of sheltering in grace, I invite you to step into the idea this week, this month of Ramadan. Step into and allow yourself to be purified through the fire in your belly, through that hunger, through that desire to be one, to not even, you already are it, to experience, to consciously experience your oneness, your unity with the divine and as the divine. Lay down whatever burdens on the altar and let the fire of purification, the fire of faith, consume it and transform it, transmute it, so that we may transcend it together. Take this time to recommit to your spiritual practice. Take this time to rededicate your life to the life of spirit, to expressing its life in, through, and as you, graciously and gloriously and wonderfully. So I want you to answer this question for me. Answer this question or respond, fill in the blank here. Today I commit to. This is your word of affirmation for this day. Today I commit to. So what is it that you are committing to today? What do you commit to today? Let's see it in the chat. Put it in there, in the live comments. Put it in there. What are you committing to today? Today I commit to. Today, I commit to. Today, I commit to gratitude. And so it is, Shawnee. Vicky, loving kindness. Vicky commits to loving kindness today. And so it is. Carlton, not taking things personally. Yes, absolutely. Allow it to go. Not take things personally. Today, Earl commits to spending more time in spiritual mind treatment and affirmative prayer. Marty's committing to journaling. I see compassion here. What else do I see here? Journaling every evening, being at peace. Maria, being at peace. Tasha Jones says, being happy and kind. What beautiful commitments. Do you feel the commitment happening here? Do you feel it? Yes. Michelle, commit to meditation and prayer. Beautiful. Oh, Doris, yes, absolutely. Committing to love yourself. And John, committing to being creative, creativity. Liviere, more in affirmations. Feel the power of this. Feel the power of what it is that you're committing to. And don't just commit to it. Don't just say that you're committing to it. Do it this week. Do it this week and watch your life, observe your life, be transformed as you lean into spiritual practice. This is the beauty of Ramadan. This is the beauty of this time. This is the beauty of being transformed, of really entering and embracing the fire that's in the belly for the purification of the body temple, the mental temple, and the spiritual temple, all in one, because it is all one. Denise is committing to noticing tiny things that are often unnoticed and taken for granted. Beautiful. Paying attention, being open, aware, and available. So will you commit today? Do you commit today? Take action. Recommit to your spiritual practice this day and watch your life be transformed. So I invite us to come together in consciousness in this moment, and I invite you, if you're comfortable, to go ahead and close your eyes as we speak this word of truth together. I recognize that there is this one life that is living, breathing, moving, and expressing itself in, through, and as all of creation, because it is the totality of creation and so much more. It brought forth through itself, as itself, of itself, all of life, because it is the one life, the one infinite eternal beingness, the isness, the allness, and the fullness that simply is all that there is. And I recognize that it is the very who of who I am, that I live, move, breathe, and have my being in and as it, and it in and as me. That I am a transparency, I am a vehicle, I am a vessel for it. I am one with it. I am never separate from it. It is the very essence of my being. It lives me, it beats my heart, it breathes me, it expands my lungs, it expands my mind. Because it is the one mind operating in, through, and as my mind, and in, through, and as the minds of all. In, through, and as the life of all. And so it withholds nothing from itself. It is the ever-givingness of itself to itself, as itself. Nothing is ever withheld, so therefore I know that there is an infinite abundance of love, of peace, of harmony, of joy. And that is the very who of who I am, and I am centered in this now. And so I speak my word here and now, affirming and rededicating my life to living a life of presence, to living a life, a spiritual life, to living as a spiritual being, having a spiritual experience on this beautiful plane of existence. I dedicate myself and I commit myself to practicing daily the spiritual practices that I know allow and bring my conscious awareness into a greater union with the one, that remind me of who I am, that remind me and allow me to express in greater ways. I commit myself to daily meditation, to daily prayer, to daily visioning, to daily affirmations, to daily gratitude and forgiveness. I commit myself to this day, and I release anything unlike it. I release any ideas of fear, any ideas of separation, any ideas of otherness, knowing that they fall back into the nothingness from which they arose. They could have no power because there is no power to maintain and sustain them. For anything unlike love, anything unlike peace, anything unlike harmony simply cannot exist in the face of love, in the face of light, in the face of peace, in the face of the divine. And it is with this divine face that I look out and I see the world. It is with the divine eyes, it is with the divine ears, it is with the divine heart that I see, hear, and move and express in the world. And so I know that the world of effect, must respond to that which is going on internally within me. And so as I know that I am one with the one, as I know that I am aligned with the one, then everything I see must be a beautiful, perfect, a gorgeous expression of that. And in knowing that, I can relax. Knowing in that, I can rest. Knowing in that, I just simply breathe and allow myself to be breathed. And I do that which has been called for me to do this day. I take action upon that which Spirit has led me, has guided me to take this day. Knowing that it is not I, but the Spirit within who actually performs the work. I can never be exhausted. I can never be tired. I can never be anything else other than energized and vitalized. So I make a commitment to reflect. I make a commitment to allow for revelation. I make a commitment to restore. I make a commitment to revolution, to change. And so I give thanks. I give thanks in this moment. I give thanks for all that is and all that is yet to be. Knowing that it unfolds under grace and in perfect ways, I release this word into the law, and so it is. It is done. Amen, Ashe, Amin, Aho. Blessed be.